While Bhubaneswar has often been coined as the city of temples, Odisha is fast emerging as a deeply progressive state, experiencing economic transition and transformation across sectors with a growing talent pool to match. And we caught up with industry experts, movers and shakers local to the city for their take on Bhubaneswar's growth outlook going forward.
In the first segment of this episode, we'll have a keynote presentation by Chaitanya Suvanam, Managing Partner, Startup Banking, IDFC FIRST Bank. And in the second segment, as a part of the Wealth First special, we bring you Bibhuti Dash, Director, LotusMint Wealth, advising entrepreneurs on savings and investments.
Bhubaneswar, often referred to as the Temple City of India, has transformed into a thriving hub for business innovation. Odisha's business-friendly government initiatives such as the Make in Odisha and Startup Odisha have helped the city build an ecosystem that's conducive for entrepreneurial success.
It's a great job that ET now is doing across India, going from city to city and bringing entrepreneurs, thought makers, policy makers, bringing together. Really, this is a great job for entrepreneurship itself. So, good evening, Bhubaneswar. An entrepreneur in Bhubaneswar, if they have to compete with the biggies, you have to innovate. Second is probably leveraging technology, right? Technology today is a great equalizer, and when you leverage technology, it doesn't matter where you sit, but you can compete with anyone in the world, really. And then something that comes to my mind is being flexible. Like just a famous example, how Dubai competed with the global economies. Initially, they were into small pearl trade, and then when pearl trade really did not take off well, they were flexible enough to go to tourism as an avenue for growth. And then what else? Probably finding a niche for themselves. So what we thought in 2019 was we really took a step back and analyzed the banking sector. And then we realized there are still lots of gaps in terms of how a customer should be serviced. So we consciously took a call that let's fill all those gaps and let's take a challenger bank approach. What do we mean by challenger bank approach? Let's put the customer first and see what makes sense for the customer. Today, in your savings account or even in your current account, we don't levy any charges. We make money, bank makes money on lending, that is fine, but we don't charge 15 rupees, 20 rupees for a check bounce or SAP bounce or for your statement, no charges. We cut the clutter. And then there came a point where, really in our boardroom, we were again brainstorming what really makes an entrepreneur happy. If you take a personal loan, you would be charged around 9%, 10%. Why should a credit card credit be anything different? So then what we thought was, let's change this. Let's challenge the banking system. So we came up with a credit card variant. In fact, all our credit cards now, if for whatever reason you plan to revolve, we pull the CIBIL score. And if, as per your CIBIL score, you're eligible for a 9.5% loan or a 9% loan, that will be your rate of interest on your credit bill. That's really, what we thought was putting the customer first. Again, we thought, let's see where else the, banking inefficiencies is. Then we were going through the charges that banks typically levy. Then we realized there are some 28 small charges, 100 rupees charge, 15 rupees charge, 20 rupees charge. We thought, this seems, should change. If we change, that's great. If we don't, some fintech will change. So we thought, let's again put customer first. And so today, in your savings account or even in your current account, we don't levy any charges. And then there came a point where, really in our boardroom, we were again brainstorming what really makes an entrepreneur happy. I'm sure, as an entrepreneur, you will appreciate every rupee matters for you. So we thought, why should the current account balance should not earn something? So we came up with a product called FD Booster. So what it does, if you have, let's say, a 3 lakh amount in your current account, we sweep out anything above 2 lakhs. So anything above 2 lakhs will continue to earn FD rate. And if you give, let's say, 605 rupees check, exactly 605 rupees on last in, first out basis will get released pre-matted from the FD, and the rest of the amount will continue to earn interest for you. So can we take banking to next level? So we thought, yes. We should innovate. We should actually bring new technologies to banking itself. So in last 3 years, if you are following IDFC FIRST Bank growth story, we are very happy that be it RBI, be it NPCI, be it ONDC, any government and quasi-government organizations have put lots of trust in us. Whenever government is innovating on anything, be it, I'm sure you must have read when G20 summit happened, India released its UPI for foreigners. Till date, UPI is typically, only for Indian bank account holders. But then, our government decided that we should innovate and actually go a step further and offer it to foreigners. The first, pilot bank that RBI and NPCI chose was IDFC FIRST Bank. ONDC, right? The way UPI has transformed the way payments that as we know today, ONDC is thought to make that to the e-commerce. Again, one of the first few banks that were picked for pilot was IDFC FIRST Bank. Be it UPI offline, where in India network is still a problem. NPCI chose us. Digital currency, digital rupee. RBI chose IDFC FIRST Bank as one of the first pilot banks. We are really thrilled and very grateful for all the trust that the regulators have in us. So this is our way of bringing banking to a new level, not just innovating on the products. So Bhubaneswar is a great city with lots of educational institutions, with lots of government initiatives to promote business. But then one sector we realized is that really puts Bhubaneswar on equal footing as Bangalore is startups. So for a startup entrepreneur, in fact, today, throughout the day, I had a series of meetings with many startup founders. I was really thrilled. Some of them are providing technology to payment banks. So technology-wise, for a startup sector, really there is no inconvenience or there is no difference sitting either in Bhubaneswar or in Bangalore. So we consciously try to reach out to the startups in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. In fact, I'm glad that I have great customers from Shillong, from Jodhpur, from Ajmer in some cases. So we decided to consciously focus on these 2,000 startups that are there in Bhubaneswar, or 4,000 DP8 registered startups in Patna, in 1,000 registered startups in Ranchi. So to them, we want to really make a difference. If you're in early stage, we believe you have two critical resources, right? One is time, of course. You would have raised probably a few lakhs or 1 crore from friends and families. And another is money, because with that money, you cannot hire a large team, so time will always be a constraint. So when we looked at startups' problems at an early stage especially, we thought, can we do something leveraging IDFC's large bank bargaining power and get something for the startups. So we tied up with the travel aggregators and tried to extend our corporate travel plan to startup founders. Again, we have space in co-working spaces. Most of the startup, if you are a startup, most of the time you would be taking co-working space to have that flexibility. I'm sure the rack rate that the co-working spaces give you is very different from what they give to a large organization. So we try to tie up with co-working spaces. And if you are an IDFC FIRST Bank customer, you would get up to 30% discount on many co-working space. So what we did was we tied up with 100 plus vendors that a typical startup would require, be it ERP softwares, be it HR softwares, be it travel, be it co-working space, and try to save every rupee with the belief that every rupee saved will go towards making the product, which will go towards enhancing the chance of being a successful startup. And on the time, one gentleman was mentioning before this, compliance is one of the big deals for a startup, and startups won't have money to hire a full-fledged CFO or won't have large compliance teams. So how can we solve that? So on behalf of IDFC FIRST Bank, we support many startups with we bearing the cost, where for first 6 months, we support the startups on legal and compliance. So we offer shared CFO services for free. Saving money is great, but then what else? Of course, a startup founder did not start his or her business to save money or time, right? They want growth. And we know at a very early stage, growth comes normally from right networking, from right ideas. So I see there are lots of wonderful entrepreneurs sitting here. From IDFC FIRST Bank, we are ready to go extra mile, not as just as a banking partner, as a business partner to help you, enhance your chances of being successful entrepreneur. And please reach out to us and our team for any help. We are always glad to be there for you. Thanks.
It's time for a short break, but our coverage of the Leaders of Tomorrow's Springboard here in the city of Bhubaneswar continues on the other side. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our continued coverage of the Leaders of Tomorrow's Springboard in the city of Bhubaneswar. We're here on ground to bring you all the highlights.
Sir, a perception that India's been fighting for decades is that we are a nation of savers and not a nation of investors. Do you believe that to be true? Why or why not? And what needs to change if a perception change is in fact the need of the hour?
First of all, I will give my sincere thanks to IDFC FIRST Bank and DT Now for having such a delightful event in my Bhubaneswar city. And before I start commenting Madam's question, I am basically a person having 21 years of experience in mutual fund area. Lot of my bankers friends are there. They might be knowing a lot of things. And last 10 years, I am managing around 400 crores assets in Bhubaneswar. The question is basically investing and saving habits in my country has been radically changed. That we all should acknowledge. कुछ साल पहले हम लोग जब इन्वेस्टमेंट का बारे में कोई बोल रहे थे, when I started my company 10 years back, people have just mutual fund selling and stock market advice. People were saying that this another cheat fund has come. Okay, so this was the concept of very common people in my city. If you go 10 kilometers away of my city, they do not understand other than this bank investment, might be savings and FD. So there is a perceptionally change in the country with the help of technology, with the different advertisement like in this ET Now channels and TV channels, lot of paper ads and lot of discussion happening in the term of investor education by SEBI, by RBI, in various forums. I have conducted more than 200 investor education program in my state. When I was in my mutual fund industry also, I have done so. So my question, answer to your question, madam, there is a lot of change, and probably all the persons who are there in my this room must have gone through a lot of good advisory activity, or means advised and good product they must have taken by this time.
And विभूति सर, जब फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी की बात आती है तो लोग अपने परिवार के बीचों बीच या अपने दोस्तों के बीचों बीच खुल के बात नहीं कर पाते, बहुत हिचकिचाहट महसूस करते हैं जब पर्सनल फाइनेंस की बात आती है. इस समस्या का समाधान क्या है सर?
I do admit around 75% to 80% family members, they do not have a very clear-cut discussion about the financial planning among the family members.
जी.
Might be in my city, with developed city, grade A, grade B, grade C city, some of the rich class society and medium class society might be discussing about this thing. But in most of the cases, if you talk about my family, I rarely discuss about this thing to my daughters. And rather they are highly understanding that this person can manage my show. So, but at the same time, this is no more there. It has been changed again very rapidly. Now a young boy at the age of 18, 19 goes to apps, invest in stocks, and asks the father, "Father, can you give me 2,000 rupees? I will, or 20,000 rupees, I will put the money in stock market." And thanks to COVID, Now, most of the family members, means we have almost added 10 crores of demat account in my country. And do you know how much percentage of these people, out of these 10 crores demat account holder, the percentage of young people will be around 80%. Okay, so this is what spreading and discussion to the financial matter among the financial policies and planning is no more only there with the father or mother. It has been slightly spread, but yes, there are a lot of things has to happen in future.
All right. And Bibhuti, when it comes to entrepreneurs, and there are several of them in this room, oftentimes it's quite easy to blur the boundaries between, personal cash flow, right, and professional or corporate cash flow, especially if you're part of a family-owned and operated enterprise. How might you guide someone who finds themselves in that position, sir?
Entrepreneur and this business both are different entity. Legal, both are different entity. Suppose I do have my LotusMint company and I'm a director to the company. My being a director as a personal, I'm a different. My LotusMint is a different. So cash flow, whenever the business is having cash flow, cash in or cash out, in general, since I being the director to the company, I think I can put my money to my company, I can withdraw the money, but it is on the basis of tax law or on the basis of company law, it is not acceptable. So entrepreneurs should know he should not park the money or withdraw the money to his business at any point of time, which will mix up the things and he may land into to a different problem. And second thing, this disrupts the cash flow and the business activities of the concerned business. So in my opinion, whatever you want to put money into your system, business system, to your own entity, go through the legally and on the basis of increasing your share capital money and something like this, but don't do this thing up and down, which is not acceptable to the tax law.
And sir, what about some tried and true techniques to streamlining your cash burn, right? How might you recommend an entrepreneur go about doing so?
No, first of all, streamlining cash flow is an area where this is on the basis, don't mix up your revenue income with the general income. Don't put your certain working capital expenditure with the different type of cash flow system. That has to be done with the consent of the law which is available in my country.
Mm-hmm. All right. And sir, in the current, geopolitical climate, how critical is it that one revisit, rebalance, re-review their portfolio? How often should this even be happening? So many times we see people make financial decisions and never go back to reassess if they continue to work as a strategy.
First of all, whenever anybody is doing any investment, it leads to certain goal, okay? Whatever is happening geopolitically or within the country may be an area which happen for certain period. It doesn't continue for a longer period. We have seen pandemic, which was a global problem. Market came down sharply by 50%, and without our knowledge, it went to certain level where most of the people lose some of the opportunity. Now, the post-COVID, I am giving those recent examples. Post-COVID, we have seen Ukraine war. Everybody told now the country, world is going to have a tough problem. We will be going to lose our investment. That doesn't happen because sometimes somewhere the things is very localized type of problem. That doesn't create a major problem for your economy to run. As far as all of us know, our country is going to grow at certain pace. We are talking 7%, somebody is saying after certain 6.8%, but as far as global report is concerned, we are going to be the #1 country as far as growth is concerned for coming 10 years, even beating China. So there is an opportunity. So rebalancing of assets where you have put for the long-term purpose, you can think on the basis of certain change of your requirement, not on the basis of market. Because most of the people, what they do, they chase the market on the basis of up and down, which doesn't hold good at all the point. Yes, but in case it is affecting very seriously to the personal investment of certain person, then he can rearrange. Or sometimes after the growth of the market, suppose equity portion has grown to certain level, you can reduce and put it into some debt-oriented asset class or gold-oriented asset class. That is the way how a person should rebalancing the portfolio.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bibhuti sir, for taking the time to speak with us and giving us some tried and true tricks and nuggets of wisdom. We thank you so much for joining.
Well, that brings the Leaders of Tomorrow's Springboard here in the city of Bhubaneswar to a close. I'm Pooja Jain signing off. Thanks for watching.